Hey everyone, this is Raution Jaiswal, CEO and co-founder of InsuredMine, and you are listening to the 30 Minutes with Insurance CEO podcast, the show that is designed to inspire growth and impact so you can create the best version of your agency by learning from the leading insurance CEOs and the presidents. So today we are talking about how to start, build, and grow your agency with Karyn Roeling, president of Seibert Insurance Agency. Please welcome Karyn. Hello, Karyn. Good morning. Thanks for joining us
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Let's start by a quick introduction. So tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start with insurance and anything before that?
Sure. So I'm one of those family insurance agent folks. My dad started the agency back in 1971. So as a small child, I was, taking out trash and around the insurance world, helping him at his office. He had just a few employees back then in the 80s and 90s when I was young. And so got exposed to insurance at a very young age. Went to Florida State, Seminoles, love those Knowles. And
There we go.
they have a very good program there in insurance. So I kind of say I somewhat fell into it because I actually started off as a marine biology major. And then as I got into that major, realized, marine biology isn't for me. So then I got into the College of Business, ended up taking an intro to risk management class because I thought, well, geez, I already know insurance. This will be easy because I've been around it my whole life at that point. And end up falling in love with the professor and just the program and the people. So I chose to major in risk management and insurance. When I graduated from Florida State, I knew I eventually wanted to go into the agency world, but I wanted to get experience at a corporate level first. And I also knew I'd probably go into sales. So I wanted to get an underwriting perspective on things. So I ended up joining a carrier as an underwriter. And in 3 years, moved up from associate underwriter to lead underwriter to left an offer on the table of underwriting manager because it meant a big move to the other side of the country. And I didn't want to leave Florida. I didn't want to leave Tampa. So that's when I joined the agency. It was 2005. And at the time when I joined, we were 100% paper files. So definitely no work from home back then. Um, it was a lot of face-to-face interactions where customers would come into the office, and everybody had to be in the office. So that was one of my first challenges was selecting an agency management system. And so in 2006, we did that. And then we went paperless. So that took about 6 months to scan in all those files, which freed up 2 rooms for people to sit in when we got rid of all those filing cabinets. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, just it's definitely
Wow.
been a neat ride over the years, but starting from a standpoint of, no agency management system and paper files. So
Wow. Wow. That might have been something to say, this is the big thing I'm gonna do after I come in.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah, no, for sure, it was definitely saw an immediate need for many reasons. I mean, we couldn't, we'd have to wait on the commission statements to know how big our book of business was with a particular carrier
Mhm.
because there was, Excel spreadsheets and very archaic
Wow.
ways to manage the book of business back in the early 2000s.
Wow. All right, that's a fantastic start. So thanks for giving us an introduction to so tell me a little bit more about your agency right now, premiums, number of folks, and anything else you wanna share.
Sure.
Personal line, commercial lines or
Okay. Yep. I have 22 employees here in the United States. Most of my staff is located in the Tampa Bay area, but I do have a few that are, spread out throughout the state, 4 or 5 hour drive away. And then we just hired another one. So we have 6 virtual assistants in the Philippines. So all in, I think we're
wow.
right around 28, 29 people that work for us. And we are almost 100% remote. We come into the office, the team comes in once a month, sometimes twice a month if we need to meet with a carrier rep. So I still have an office in Tampa. And, as far as premium volume, we measure by revenue. So we just did
Revenue.
just over 3 million in revenue last year. Premium dollars, that's probably around 24 million or so, 25 million in premium dollars. And as far as our split of business, we are approximately 45% commercial lines and 55% personal lines. So, because of some appointments we picked up in the past few years, we've really been able to grow our commercial book, which has been good. I have four full time dedicated new business folks that just sell, two on the commercial line side, and then two on the personal line side. And that's their only role, is going out, networking, answering the phones, doing the quotes, all the new business things. And then we have two virtual assistants that assist those four folks on the wrap up, like getting the paperwork to the carrier and things, that after the policy's bound and written and the money's collected, that they will do for us on the front end side. And then the rest of my staff is support team. So we have, commercial lines and personal lines support team to do certificates and vehicle changes and all the service type requests. And then I have a part-time person that just helps with accounting. So like commission downloads and reconciliation there and stuff like that.
Wow, that's a pretty good balance of the. Let me ask you an interesting question before we take these questions forward on agency. What would you have done if not insurance?
Oh, that's
Do you think you would have continued on marine biology or?
I would have done something entrepreneurial and in business because I love when I first started in the agency, I dove into operations because my dad is a wonderful salesperson, but we had like 8 people at the time. So it was just like, didn't really need to audit files and all those things. So once I got the business operationally sound, which took a few years, then I started selling commercial insurance. And why my clients would always say, we love me, they love me and I'm so good at it, is I just am curious and I just ask questions because I truly am curious. I love getting into all these different businesses and seeing how they operate and how they started. A lot of my commercial lines clients are scrappers that came from nothing, started their business because they were good at something, and then grew it, to these huge businesses. And a lot of times it's, they're a good tradesman, they're a good whatever, and then they've got a good partner there that runs the operational piece for them, so that it allows them to do what they're best at, and then the operation, is taken care of. But so I feel like I probably would have been in the business world in a sales capacity, probably entrepreneurial, because I'm huge into flexibility. I'll be spending a month in Spain this summer because I can work from anywhere, so why not? So I
Yeah.
love flexible schedule. I'm very supportive of that with my staff. As long as they're getting the job done, then I'm very flexible boss, where that's why we started working from home in 2019. So before COVID, I had two office, yeah, I
Wow.
had two office buildings in the same complex. And in December of 2019, I closed on one. I sold it because I'm like, this is silly. We were already working from home. At that point, it was only 2 days a week at home, 3 days in the office, but I didn't need that much square footage. So I sold it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, COVID 4 or 5 months later hits. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad I got rid of one of those buildings because we weren't in the office at all, for a while. And I've been able to maintain the once a month. Well, we were twice a month, and now we just went to once a month, because my office is still closed to the public. I'm going to ride that as long as I possibly can, because none of my commercial clients ever have come in. I have had one large client after 4 or 5 years of writing her. She was like, Karyn, I want to come tour your office. Can I come and see it? I'm like, sure. So, it's just folks that are not our target market that were coming into the office on the personal line side. And so, yeah, so that's our model, is almost fully work from home. It's the challenges are what everybody faces with the cultural things, and training. I have a very young staff. I have 4 folks that
Uh-huh.
we just hired this year, know nothing about insurance. That's where I found my most successful employees are, when they come to us with no experience, but it's also obviously the hardest because there's the biggest learning curve
Yep.
with
Yeah.
insurance. But so yeah, so my staff is, I would say probably 70% of them came from knowing nothing about insurance to now being, very highly educated insurance folks. And these 4 that I just hired, again, all were, referrals from either my current staff members or friends or family members, basically, who are not my family members, but like we hired one of my producers'
Mhm.
wives, to help and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, so that's where we've kind of had the most success and where we're leaning into and then,
Yeah.
we're a little bit overstaffed right now by the numbers. And the idea is, we want to promote within. So we need team leads. So we've just elevated a few people to team leads. We'll need a personal lines manager here. This is probably coming this year. And we'll identify somebody on the team that we think can fit in that role and really believe in promoting within and hiring folks that just don't have any industry experience.
Yeah. Oh, well, you just said so many things, and let's slow down on a couple of them and unpack them. I love the idea that you guys have been, pre-COVID, virtual, so you just preempt that. So again, with that experience, share with us, you said, you love flexible schedule. How do you create that accountability, and what is that tracking mechanism that allows you to be able to, okay, I'm fine being this
Right.
way?
That's a good question.
Because I'm sure that's a lot of people kind of struggle with that.
Yeah, we have enough people that the team is large enough now. So if I have somebody that can only work until 4 o'clock because they whatever have something with their kids, or I have somebody that maybe wants to come in late, so we always have plenty of folks to answer the
To
phones when
cover.
when
Yeah.
when our
Yeah.
customers call. So that's helpful. And then as far as creating accountability, we kind of weed those people out if they're not going to care about. So work comes in phone calls, emails, and actions in our agency management system. So the virtual assistants, maybe they get a piece of mail, they scan it in, they attach it in the system. So then I have an action set to me, or it's a phone call, they'll leave a voicemail, or it's an actual live call that comes in, or an email. So we're able to measure all of those things. I've got a voice over IP phone system. And then, our actions we look at daily. We look at the average action count. We look at past due actions. We look at measurements like how many calls go to voicemail versus are taken live. And then, we look at turnaround times on things. We really don't, we've got a good team though. So it's not like we're micromanagers. It's really, if we get a complaint, if somebody's behind, that's when we really kind of start to look into things. How can we help? Are we understaffed, or is it, an issue where somebody's
Yep.
not working? We have had those scenarios in the past, probably 2 years. We haven't probably in the last year, but we've had a couple of folks that were taking advantage of the system of the flexibility and not,
Yeah.
and so, those people are no longer with us. So that's kind of how we resolve that. It's sad, when that happens, but I feel like just the way that the market is moving I talk to recruiters pretty regularly just to kind of keep a beat on things, make sure we're competitive in pay and flexibility and things. And that is still one of the number one questions beyond benefits and pay is what's the work from home situation, so it's a big deal for folks, and they've been able to maintain productivity and keep our clients happy. So that's what's important for us. And those are the kind of things that we look at.
Yeah.
Everything is date and time stamped
Wow.
in our system too. So yeah.
What you did to set that stage when you became paperless was a big part of it, right?
Oh
Right?
yeah.
To allow to be virtual, I think. I think having that vision so many years earlier than that was, I think, a fantastic thing to pursue that. So let's talk a little bit about 2005 a bit. Um, which year did you join the agency side of
2005. Yes.
business?
Yes. Correct. Yeah.
Right. So what got you going? Why? Just because you got a request from dad, or what was
Yeah,
that?
so my plan when I joined the carrier side was to stay for 5 years. But after 3 years, they had me going out to Phoenix, Arizona because they had opened a new office out there and I was living in Tampa. And then after like 4 months of commuting back and forth, and they were like, hey, we want this to be permanent. We want you to move out there. And that is what caused me to leave when I did. It was a wonderful company. It was a great experience. I learned so much while I was there, and I would still be there today probably if I didn't have the opportunity to own my own business. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what prompted me to leave in '05 is I just wasn't ready to leave Tampa. And my dad, was doing great. The agency was doing well. I think at the time he was like 1.1 million in revenue. So we've, tripled since then.
Uh-huh.
But so yeah, he was doing well. He was an exclusive agent with Nationwide Insurance, and it was
Yeah.
really everything. Just when I look back, I couldn't have done it better as far as timing because I joined in '05. In 2008 we went independent. So we it was perfect that we had picked an agency management system, gone paperless, like all those things. We were ready to be an independent agent from being an exclusive agent. Because we were in Florida, we were kind of quasi. They Nationwide was really good where they let us write with other carriers, so it wasn't like we only wrote with
Uh-huh.
Nationwide. We were used to other carrier systems and things. But yeah, that's what made me take the leap in 2005 was just I didn't want to move, and I was like, okay, I got a
And
great experience. It's time to go into the agency side.
and when did you got to the apex of running the show at this
Yeah,
agency?
so my dad sold. He was good at sales, client relationships, and things. So really, pretty pretty quickly because the staff had to rely on. So the demographics of the staff was folks that had been with him for a long time, 20 years, 25 years, and so they liked their paper. So it was a battle to go from paper to paperless, and they would print things out of the system. It was an interesting time. But because I was the expert, I learned the system. I knew everything was. I was good at prioritizing and planning and like, okay, this company A through F is now scanned in. This company A, so like they knew where things were and just running the show there. Operationally, I took over pretty quick because there was a gap in operations. We didn't have like there was no auditing of files. There was just no reporting being done. And so that really helped elevate me within the staff, if you will. And then probably by 2007, I was doing, paying bills and getting involved in that type of operational things too, to really understand how the money flowed and all that. And then 2008, 9, started selling commercial insurance. My dad retired in 2012. So we did a buyout in 2012, 10-year buyout, which I just finished paying off in 2022. So I was pretty excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it happened and the timeline on everything. And it just, again, it was like the stars aligned perfectly because I came into a
Mhm.
situation that needed an agency management system, that we needed paperless, we needed these things. And once the staff realized that, then they really had to lean on me because I was the one who did all the trainings and went
Yep.
to the big conventions to learn how to do everything and hired a trainer to come in. And she helped us for the first week to make sure, she was doing training classes with all the staff and then making sure that we were entering things in right so that we started on the right foot. Because a lot of
Mhm.
my friends, when I say my friends, like my counterparts, the kids that came into the business to help, I find that sometimes didn't do the best job with, they're like, okay, we're going to turn on this system. And then there's not a lot of support, not a lot of training. There's no making anybody use it. It was like, oh, you still want to use paper? Okay, that's fine. And it was kind of a mess. So I had seen some of those situations and I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. We are taking away the paper, I'm scanning it in and it's disappearing. Well, it's going into the management system, but they would just print it sometimes. But eventually we kind of leveled up the staff, and then also people just, eventually just accepted the model and realized, okay, yeah, this is nice to have stuff at our fingertips, especially because we had two office buildings. So sometimes we were walking down, having to walk a little bit to go get a file. It was just silly.
Wow. I bet, you are making it sound very easy, but I'm sure it was not that easy.
No, it wasn't. I remember taking home files, and because some of these files hadn't been touched since the 70s. It was crazy, like an insurance contract, and I wish I would have saved some. It was like one page. It was crazy. Like this was the homeowner's policy, one page. I would take the boxes at home at
Yeah.
night and I would create a box of stuff that could be shredded and stuff that needed to be scanned. And then I hired college students one summer. I hired three of them, and their whole job was just scan it in and attach it to this file, scan it in and attach to this file. That's how we did it. I didn't use current staff because they were, doing their normal
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
I hired some extra help. That was just made it very simplistic process, but it was a challenge. But like everything, we came through it, and
Yeah.
definitely happy I did it, especially with my flexibility mindset. We weren't working, back then it wasn't a work from home. We really started probably 2018, working from home, and really I started first, and it was just so I could get out of the day to day and work on the business instead of in the business all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, if I can do this, like my staff could do this too. And so we started with 1 day a week, and then 2 days a week, and then sold a building, went to 3 days a week, and then COVID hit, and then we went 100%, and then we came back to 2 days a week, and then scaled back to 1 day a week, and then 2 days a month, and now it's once a month. So
That's
yeah.
fantastic. So you talked about growing. talked about, how you guys have tripled in this period, So what has been the biggest challenge so far in growing your business?
People, that's the hardest part. And I when I had operations running smoothly in the late, like, 2009 2010 timeframe, and I started to sell commercial insurance, the reason I did is because I had hired, I don't even, probably in my career, I've probably gone through 20 commercial producers that just, I tried
Didn't
hiring people
work.
with experience. I tried hiring people new.
Yeah.
Now we've got two really good ones. One had experience in the business world prior to joining us, but not anything to do with insurance. And the other one is a younger guy that started off in personal lines and did really well. And he wanted to learn commercial. So I was like, okay, well, and then so he's been doing well, but he's still pretty green. He just started in, like, at the end of the year in commercial, so he'll handle, because what we're experiencing, as I'm sure other agencies are too, the influx of quote requests is insane. So these guys go
Mm,
out and network, but just the amount of requests that we get on a daily basis for commercial insurance because of the hard market. So Hunter is my guy that's the newer one. So he kind of handles those inbound more so than Maria, who's out there as the hunter, really doing some
mm,
networking and going after certain industries and things. But that's really been the biggest challenge of growth is finding the right people to
right.
sell and to grow. And then we used to have a model as well where people would sell and service. When I changed that model, which was probably about 10 years ago, where I'm like, okay, we're going to try something. We're going to keep the same amount of people, but one was really good at cross selling and upselling our clients, and the other ones are just like, we don't want to have anything to do with sales. We just want to service. So I made them the service folks only, and then any new business that they generated or the other one generated, it went to, and our sales doubled. I'm like, well, this was dumb not to
Wow.
do before. So I feel like, especially in this market with the rate increases and the non-renewals and the things that my service team is dealing with on a daily basis, having folks that are just focused in on new business has been just a game changer. We grew last year, we grew 27% through February,
Wow.
the end of February. We're 28% ahead of where we were last year. I mean, it's just, the growth has been astronomical. Prior to that, we were double digit growth, but not anything like what we've been seeing. Now, part of that is rate increases and our retention, though. So
Yep.
we've got a good service team. So our retention is like, our PIF retention is like 92%, which is great. And then the new business, we've had 3 record months last year. For us, it's a record. We wrote over $50,000 in new business revenue 3 months last year, and then January we wrote, like, 62,000 in new business revenue. So it's great. We've got good markets. We've got good people. Just educating the client. Our clients have been pretty understanding about rate increases because we've been talking to them about it and why, and expect them to happen. And we don't have any control over it, but here's what we're doing for you, showing them marketing summaries. I feel like, that's why our clients, although they're not happy to pay a higher premium, but that's, I think, why our retention is so high, and we don't have angry clients. Like, they're not thrilled to pay a higher premium, but they're also not mad at us. They understand what's happening in the industry and what could potentially change that in the future. Um, and so they're getting involved politically and things to try to help that. So I think that's, big, but that, it was biggest challenge is definitely people and training and all the things that go along with it. It's a big drain on our current resources when you've got 4 people in training in a small agency, but we know there's light at the end of the tunnel. They're great folks. They're motivated. They're learning. They are helping as they learn things. They're starting to take things off the plates. So my folks that are leads that are doing a lot of the training, see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh, this is good, because we've never hired this many people. We've never had this many people in training at one time. It's been 1 to 2. And this year
Mm,
I was
mm.
like, we're growing. We grew a ton last year. Um, my little crystal ball says this is going to continue to grow, because we've got the markets, we've got
That's
the
a good
people,
one.
the rate increases are going to continue to come. So I was like, we're just
Yeah.
going to hire 4 at one shot and train them all at the same time.
How is that turning out to
Great.
be
Yeah. It
so
was in
far?
January,
Right.
so they're only about 2 months in, but it's really been, and some of the side effects of it that were unanticipated positive things is just they feel great because they have somebody that is going through it with them, and they can talk about things, and, oh, we covered this in the training, but did you have a question on that? And maybe we went over this too fast, type of thing. So those are the unintended positive side effects. Like I wanted, if we're gonna, if the growth numbers continue and we're gonna bring on more people, I definitely want to bring them in multiples again in the future. This experience has been really good. It's been just nothing but positive for
Yeah.
them with one another.
Yeah, and I also think, some of your staff have done a phenomenal job, Candace and other folks, I think other one we were talking the other day was with Natalie, so fantastic work from those folks. Yeah.
Yeah, Candace and Natalie are both great examples. They both had no insurance experience before they joined the agency. Candace, I was her first job out of college, and she's now
Wow.
36, 37. So yeah, so she's been with me quite a long time. Natalie, and she started as a receptionist and then administrative assistant, and then now she runs my whole organization. She's the COO and does hiring and all the things. She's in charge of training. And then Natalie started as a receptionist, as a referral from one of my good friends. She used his legal services. He's an attorney, and referred her to me. And then she's phenomenal. So again, was a receptionist, and then got her license, personal lines representative, and now she's a manager too for us. And she helps manage the virtual assistant team as well as do like all the back end stuff operationally. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so both of those folks, no insurance experience before joining the organization. And Natalie's been with us, I think, like 13 years. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. Wow. I think just to slow down for everybody for a minute, and I think what you said was so powerful, where you mentioned about how you realized that, folks doing the sales and service, transitioning that model to be more specialized when doing just sales or service has transformed. I think, it's a very powerful statement, and I think guys, go back, probably 5 minutes and listen to that one more time because I think understanding that value of specialization definitely has yielded good dividends for you guys, and I'm sure others can reap that
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it's like finding a unicorn to find somebody who's really good at service and really good at sales, who's motivated by the commission dollars of a sale. I mean, it after we made the transition and I saw the results from it, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, this
Hmm.
does make sense. Why didn't I do this sooner? But I think maybe people fear like, oh, the salesperson won't be as busy or whatever. But it has been just,
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, a game changer. And it made everybody happy because the person who was really good at sales
Hmm.
but also service preferred to do sales, and the folks that were, okay at sales but really good at service didn't weren't motivated. And so like if we were doing like a round robin, and calls came in, and a call came into Karen, who likes to do service and not really sales, and I've got these service people I need to call back, I'm going to push the sales to the last thing that I do because I like doing the
Correct.
service. I don't want to make the sale. I don't care about the commission. That's what we found. And so when we started directing those leads and the cross sells to, or we were finding that the service folks weren't wanting to generate, like they saw, oh, Karen is a home only, but I don't want to ask about our auto because then I'm going to have to do a quote, where now it's like, yeah, I want to ask about the auto
Mhm.
because it's in their goals and they want the agency to grow and all those things. But they also get to kick it over to the new business salesperson. So they don't have to do the quote. They don't have to do that work. They're helping the agency,
Mhm.
and then also they're happy because they're not selling because they're not a sales type person. So yeah, it's worked out really well.
Sure. Let's switch gears a bit, and bring your personal side of uh, life rather than just, work, work, work. So talk to me about the balancing act. So, family, work. How does that all play out, and your challenge of, trying to be the boss on both
Yeah,
sides?
I would say it ebbs and flows, just like everything in life. Right now, because we do have so many people in training, where my work life balance is a little bit off balance. But I know that once probably June comes around, they're going to be in a good spot, and it'll lighten my load because I'm helping in areas that I wouldn't normally assist in right now because of all these folks in training, and then all the resources dedicated to train those people. But I would say, all in all, I have a great work life balance. I love to travel. And so, and because I can work from anywhere, I don't ever, I would say the only negative I would say about myself is I've never taken a vacation in my life where I haven't worked. Okay. But that is the goal, is to do that. But, I've gone to Italy for a month. I've been to Croatia, like all these cool places, but I work there, but I don't work a full day. I might work, 4 or 5 hours and then go
Yeah.
play. Or some days I only have to work a couple hours, but I've never been in a scenario where I've like not, worked, but I do want to get there. That is one of my goals. It could probably potentially happen next year because we'll be a little bit overstaffed. It'll depend on the growth, but I would say, and then working from home allows me to have a good work life balance too, because, I get stuff done at the house. Like if, something's broken and I have to meet a repairman. Before, when I was at the office, I'd have to, be home. And now I work from home the majority of the time. So those things get done. So on my days, like a weekend or something that are
Yeah.
off, I'm
Yeah.
not having to take care of those things. So, I mean, I'm happy with the work life balance, especially with the producers that I've got now in place. Where before I was the only commercial producer until about 5 years ago, and so I,
Yeah.
didn't have a very good work life balance because I'm the one who had to jump when the client called, wanted a quote or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
So.
What would you say as a personal challenge to you, as as an individual, trying to do everything, and being a boss, and then you have life, and then, so personally, what are you trying to accomplish?
I have personal goals of like, you know, volunteering in the community. I was very involved with a project, Habitat for Humanity, here in Pinellas County recently. So that's part of my goal. Spending time with family, spending time with friends, those type of things. I actually have specific amounts of time, like lunches and dinners, that I want to accomplish every month, and that I track to make
Uh,
sure that I am hitting those goals. Personally, also, like, working out to me is important. So I get up early to hit the gym before the day starts, because I know from experience, if I try to just go after work, I that is the one negative with working from home, is sometimes it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still working, type of a thing. So that type
yeah.
of stuff. Continuing to travel, I have specific goals on how many trips I want to take a year, where I want to go, how long I want to stay there. So, but nothing, you know, tremendous as far as like a personal goal beyond those things. That right now is on
Yeah.
my radar, that makes me happy to be able to be in different places, work, travel, um, and develop the folks that
Sure.
work at the agency too is important. Obviously, hiring these new folks that are into it, that, when you ask just a layperson on the street about insurance, it's not a positive response ever. No
Yeah.
one's like, I
Yeah.
love my
Yeah.
insurance,
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah. I love paying for insurance and I've never had a claim. It's fantastic, right? So getting these new people that are impressionable into the industry and then giving them our side of things. It's like, okay, the
Yeah.
billboards, the attorneys, all the bad stuff that you hear. Nobody's at a party talking about how awesome of an experience their claim was, right? It's no, even if the insurance
Yeah.
company is perfect, nobody's happy that they've had a claim. It's not a pleasant experience, just your house being
It's
torn up.
not associated with good
Right.
things most of the
Yep.
time.
So yeah, so
Right.
that is a personal thing for me. And then, I love, I guess, a higher level thing would be, I love getting young people into the industry in general. One of my old professors, Randy Dumm from Florida State, just got hired at Baldwin Risk Partners, gave a 5 point something $1 million donation to USF to start a risk management program. So he reached out to me and he was like, hey, would you be interested in talking to the students? And I'm like, absolutely. I love doing those things. I've done like
Nice.
the Invest program in high schools and gone and talked to the kids and things, because I want to get our side of the stuff out there. Flexibility. You
Yep.
can make as
Yep.
much
Yeah.
money as you want. You're helping people in their worst possible moment. Their house burns down, their business
Yep.
burns down, something like that. You're there to hand them a check and get them going. That's pretty cool. And you can earn a ton of money doing it too. And it's, so I like to talk about that, to get that side of the industry out, because I feel like we're fighting like a used car salesman. Nobody's got good thoughts about a used car salesman. Same thing with us insurance folks. Yeah.
Yeah. All this true. Yeah. Well. I think this is such an interesting conversation, Karen. You come across as so easy in who had done this for this long. I think that passion and that equanimity of because you have seen so much. It's such a refreshing thing. But again, I think we got time constraints, so I have two questions before I come to the wrap up. One is talk to me about, you already mentioned about people, you talked about your process, you talked about technology, how you brought in day one. So what does that mean when you bring people, process, technology together to your organization?
Oh, I mean, it's great. Like, efficiency, doing, even talking about, I know there's chatter about there with AI and how it can impact our industry and insurance and things. I look at it as, some things that we do are mindless administrative tasks. And if AI can help with that so that we can have meaningful conversations with our customers and we can really bring value, we like to educate our clients so that they are making good decisions when it comes to insurance, because the worst feelings that I've ever had in this industry is when I've talked to a client about a particular coverage and they've opted not to buy it, whether it's EPLI, wind coverage or something, and then they have a loss. And it's like, I want to make sure, I want to be annoyingly sure that I have explained the heck out of it to them. And I feel like
Yeah.
technology and all the things that we do allow for my folks to have more meaningful conversations with our clients so that they are making well informed decisions. I've had clients that have had a loss and they're like, Karen, I know it's not covered. You talked to me about this coverage. I didn't buy it. I had a person cyber situation, happen, and they called just to make sure that nothing's covered under their policy. And I'm like, I've quoted you every year for the last however many years for cyber liability, and you've said no. I know. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything potentially that could cover this loss. I hate those situations when they come up and uncovered. So I feel like technology really does a good job assisting us with that. And then also all the things that carriers are doing these days, the exclusions on policies and limitations and sublimits and all this stuff,
Yeah.
technology helps us identify those things and be our second set of eyes so that we're not missing something that again would negatively impact the customer if God forbid they had that type of loss. So that's where I see,
Yeah.
and that's where I see technology going into the future too, is being more of just continuing to assist us so we can do a better
Hmm.
job with the customer on education and guidance.
Sure. So what does this continuum looks like? You had a good run. What does is there an end game in mind? What would that
Yeah, I
be?
think I enjoy getting young people into the industry. So my thought is I want to continue to work my way out of the day-to-day stuff, be more of a kind of a spokesperson for the industry, but also my agency, drive in, new talent, work less as I'm not writing new business. I haven't written, much new business in the last year because I'm trying not to. I want to have my producers write that. So I'll have less relationships to manage on the commercial line side because my commercial lines clients are selling, retiring, whatever, so that my book is shrinking because of that. And that's fine. And so that's kind of where I see my role. I'm very involved in the industry. I know you mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be chairwoman of FAI starting later this year, but I'm going to Washington, D.C. to advocate for small business owners. I go to Tallahassee to do the same thing. Really involved on like carrier, councils and things like that because I love to help if I can. I'm on the CIC National Alliance Board, and it's just neat to help shape the industry, the future, what it looks like, any assistance I can do, and then recruiting, bringing people in to the industry is kind of where I see my role in the future, probably in the next like 2 to 3 years down the road. I'm working with business coach now to help with that. EOS, the whole entrepreneurial operating system, traction, that book. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I'm trying to get that going for us as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
hired an implementer about a year ago. He's wonderful. In fact, we have our all day meeting this Friday. So we meet once a quarter and it's great because like this morning I had my staff meeting, the level 10 meeting with my managers, and it's just such a more efficient way to do what we were doing. It's all of us in one call. We're
Mm-hmm.
all on the same page. It's all right in front of us. We all have our things we're trying to accomplish in the next quarter. It's really, that also has been a game changer. We're just starting to roll it out to the staff. So they're reading the book. Actually, I've got it right here. What
Nice.
the heck is EOS? They're reading this book right now. And
Yeah,
then they're supposed to read it by the end of this week. And so we're going to, create scorecards for the individual members. Right now, just the managers have been doing it, but highly recommend
that's
that.
awesome.
I'm sure every system is great and
Wow.
they all work if you stick to it,
Yeah.
but this one has been really a success story for us for sure.
I cannot stop but say that, I'm so proud of, hearing everything you had to share and your vision of where you are heading and all that you want to do to the community with, including the FAIA and all these new recruits, this young. It's fantastic. It's fantastic to see second generation kind of taking it to that next level. It's fantastic to see a woman in insurance trying to, which is again another odds that you are fighting against every day, I'm sure. And to see all this success that you have been able to implement with technology, with people, I'm very proud and very honored to have this conversation with you. So thank you for taking the time and sharing all of this wonderful insight about your journey. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
appreciate
no, I
that.
appreciate the opportunity. I always love, again, I get excited. People think I'm crazy. I get excited when I talk about insurance, so I'm happy to do it.
Well, that makes many of us. So thank you.
Yep.